Habil Khorakiwala, founder, chairman at Wockhardt. Good morning and welcome to the show, Mr. Khorakiwala. We did speak to you at the NDTV conclave as well, where you categorically indicated as to how resilient or how the impact could come in terms of pharma. The supply chain probably could be under pressure as well. Your first comments with regards to what Trump has said in terms of pharma exports?
Currently, there are no duties on pharma, but what will happen in future only Trump will know. I could mention that the impact, it's not easier for anyone to switch manufacturing from India or anywhere else to US. So in the short term, certainly there would be a price pressure on US consumer and healthcare provider in the US. As far as Wockhardt is concerned, we hardly have a significant presence, less than 5%. And we have planned to exit the US generic business. But many other pharma companies have a very large exposure to US business, somewhere between 30 to 50% of their revenue. And they will have to adjust themselves by maybe a little squeeze in margin, little impact also on the sales, because it may affect, but it will be very, very difficult for pharma industry to manufacture all the products in the US, because it will take several years to do that. And it is a multi-product industry, because we have so many products, so many API suppliers, and many of them are from India and China. US hardly manufacture much of the active substance. So it's going to be a fairly complicated affair, but the end result would be the US consumer and healthcare provider will have to accept a significant part of a burden. And the future of pharma industry from India, who have a very large exposure, they would certainly rethink their future strategy. And probably they would diversify the business a little more away from the US.
This is big, Mr. Khorakiwala, what you're saying. Good morning, Neeraj here, because US has been that mother market for a clutch of generic companies, right? You are saying that will undergo a change, even if there are tariff agreements being reached. Let's say in the next 7 days, if there are some agreements reached, you reckon there will still be a shift out of US into other markets for generic companies?
Yeah, certainly, if you have a 30, 40, 50% of your business in the US, and with so much uncertainty for the future, and pharma is investing in research, and even for generic, and it takes roughly 2-3 years before one sees the benefit of this research. So in the pipeline, whatever is there, it will continue for a while. But certainly companies would revisit their fundamental strategy to diversify much more and maybe look at Europe and other Western markets.
Mr. Khorakiwala, just one more follow-up on this, and nothing is cast in stone, but I would love your perspective, sir, because you started off this conversation saying it's not very easy to get up supply chains that quickly and easily, particularly in the US with the US FDA issues, etc. Do you reckon, the tariff issue from the US on pharmaceuticals is not quite there. Will it be a very high set of tariffs that could come in, because it will eventually impact inflation as well, and Donald Trump's pet theme seems to be to get interest rates down. If there is inflationary pressures because of medicine as well, that will only add to the woes.
To predict what happens,
I know it's difficult.
It's literally impossible.
But because you understand this industry, sir.
Yeah, from an industry perspective, we currently have about 40% prescription in US coming from many products manufactured in India. So it is a very, very significant impact it has on the healthcare. Secondly, it is not possible to switch from one drug to another drug for the treatment. And as I mentioned earlier, that for a significant part, it is the American consumers and healthcare provider have to rework out the insurance and other things. And anyway, US government takes care of about 50% of the coverage in the United States. So it will cost them also partly.
Mr. Khorakiwala, I mean, you've been in the business during the first term administration of Trump as well. And at that point in time, there were tariff threats, which led to, probably promises of US manufacturing. However, everything was again rolled back. From what happened in Trump's first term to now, has anything changed? Because people were talking about capex, facility shifts, nothing materialized. The costs are almost 5 to 10 times higher as well. And this was something that could be impacting businesses. How would you differentiate between these two episodes?
They are entirely different. What happened in the Trump 1 and Trump 2, that everyone knows. This is a very fundamental shift. And it's not only manufacturing in US. Our competitiveness arises because of India manufacturing and overall low-cost manufacturing. Now, once you shift your production to the US, your competitiveness as an Indian company no longer is valid because your cost structure would be identical to anybody else manufacturing in US or Europe. So it asks for a very fundamental review of a business model for our industry, those who have a very significant stake in the US. So what to do in future kind of a stuff, basically.
Got it. Okay, sir, one question on Wockhardt itself. You must be in a silent period. I appreciate you can't talk much, but is business looking like being as usual and in an uptrend, or is the uncertainty currently caused by tariffs impacting you in any fashion whatsoever?
I must say we have been fortunate that we hardly have any US business, and we have already taken a position to exit it over a period of short time. So what happens in the US and the tariff, we are totally not affected. So in other words, our fundamental business model of focusing on new drug and biologicals in the emerging market is sound, and it is not going to be affected by this US-led tariff war, which is happening worldwide. However, as far as the new molecules are concerned, I don't think the business would be affected, and we would see as our products comes nearer approval.
Right. Very lastly, Mr. Khorakiwala, as you mentioned, I mean, around 5 to 6% is the kind of exposure that you have in the US. You're looking to exit that. Overall, what's the kind of P&L impact that you will see overall on the back of the exit in terms of the US business?
It will be positive because we are losing money in the US today.
Okay. And to what quantum? Anything that you could tell us?
It's a little too early to tell you that, basically, but it is not profitable business, and we are losing significant amount of money in our US operation.